Good morning. It is Friday, September 13th. Yes, Friday the 13th, 2019. And this is the Video Call-In Show Friday Weekly Recap. Good morning, everyone. Again, this is the Video Call-In Show, that show that invites you to be a live video guest on this program. No invites needed, to talk about anything you'd like to talk about, that being the topic of the day or days in this instance. It could be current events, it could be personal promotions, it could just be the weather. You will be talking with Jim. That would be me. I'm the host of the Video Call-In Show, and I will be here for about the next hour. My job, to listen and learn to and about you. Welcome, everyone. Joining is easy. Joining the show, jumping up on the show is super easy. All you've got to do is point your browser to zoom.us, click on join a meeting, and enter that meeting number when it asks for it. You will show up in my green room, and I will bring you up first come, first serve, as time allows. Again, it's about an hour at a time. What I try to do there is not burn you out or me. Neither one of us wants that. And today, of course, oh, by the way, if that's content that sounds cool to you and you might want to be on the show, make sure you hit that subscribe button right now and ring that bell. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Jesse. How you doing? Wendell Live, always a pleasure to have you in here. Pepper Tree Villa, good morning to you, my friend. And our Outdoor Nomad, how are you as well? Welcome to the show, folks. Today, of course, is our Friday weekly recap. What I do on these days is we go over all the shows of the past week and give everybody an opportunity, especially those across the pond that don't necessarily are not able to make my late night show, which is only 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Sunday through Thursday. But it also gives anyone who's available an opportunity to go over those same subject matters or any other subject matters that they're interested in on a Friday relaxed morning format. Yes, we're just going to sit back, we're going to have some coffee, and we're just going to chat about whatever. At least that's my goal. So let's talk about some of the shows that that I had this week. The first one was Monday, and that was our Pet Peeves Part 2. The initial Pet Peeves live stream was actually quite interesting. A lot of people had just a ton of pet peeves to go over. And I found that fascinating. You could almost say that every one of my shows is a pet peeve because I usually bring up something that is a pet peeve of mine. I don't mean to, but it just happens that way. You know how it is. But we got some great folks up who had some pet peeves of their own, some that I didn't even think about and some that I actually shared. I just hadn't remembered. Go Ubiquitous, how are you? Good to see you. Miss Cass Entertainment, morning. How you doing? Got my coffee ready to rock. I am doing very well this morning. Like I've said before in a couple of streams, got an MRI scheduled for a week from Saturday, so I'm my spirits are lifted. I'm looking forward to finding out exactly what's wrong and finding out a path to get rid of this pain, hopefully. Now, having said that, Frozen Furry, how are you doing? I haven't seen you in a while. He's a guy who's been over on Magic Jones' stream and actually contributed with him, and it's been just fantastic. But yeah, so Pet Peeves was, like I said, it was a huge show. It actually begged for a second rendition. There was so much good response. Now, Tuesday night, I was not able to go on. I had some technical difficulties with these cameras. And so that obliterated the must achieve this, which was what would you most want to accomplish in your life? If you had one thing that you could accomplish, what would it be? Now, I plan on bringing that show back. In fact, it'll probably be this upcoming week that I bring it back. So if you have something in mind that you just know you want to accomplish before your ride on this big blue ball is over, I want to hear about it. Now, Wednesday, of course, was the was the 18th anniversary of 9/11. So I had a special show, which I thought was a huge success, and that is the Never Forget Show Wednesday. I thought it was a huge success because I had a lot of people on that gave me, well, a little bit of insight on how they viewed the tragedy and what they were doing during that tragedy, how they thought that it affected not only the United States, but the world in general. And and I've even decided not to create guest cuts of those particular appearances by my, the folks that were kind enough to come on and tell me about it. Only because I think that it stands alone on its own merits, and I want to leave it where it is. It's very, it was close to all of us. It affected us. We even had a good friend, not a great gamer, across the pond. He's in Britain, and give us his thoughts on it. And I thought that was fantastic. So if you get a chance, go check out that show, that the replay of the live stream. You can skip around to different. See, here's the thing about this channel as well. I'm kind of a free form, and I so don't chase the algorithm like most people do, or I probably should. But it's okay because I do this. This is a labor of love. I love being on here. I love meeting all you wonderful people, and I know it hurts my visibility, but I just don't care because I would rather be more of a service than it be a popularity contest. So skip around in those I wouldn't call them interviews, in those appearances, and watch how it affected some people. I think it was a really wonderful conversation. It didn't turn into be a sob fest, which I didn't want it to be. It was more of a celebration of those who lost their lives, the lives prior to that, right? And the courage and the bravery of those who rushed in to help, and a tribute to the country as a whole, because we all came together, no matter what our differences were. And I found that to be one of the highlights, or I guess I should say silver linings to an obviously giant dark cloud. So if you've got some thoughts on that, feel free to come on and tell me about them today. I mean, that's what this show is all about. Speaking of which, Thursday, why it seems like just yesterday, last night, the subject matter was bad bosses. And that was a show where I wanted to hear, where you've had, I don't know, we've all had bad bosses, and I wanted to hear from my viewers about their experiences with bad bosses, supervisors, you name it, anyone in a position of authority that directed your activities. I should say your income generating activities. I wanted to hear about it, and we did hear about it. We had a lot of great guests on. They talked about some of their boss experiences. Jacob, Bill, and I talked for a great deal about the military and how it differs so greatly from the civilian world, and how some of that is actually missing in the private sector, which is just fine. But I don't know. I think a lot of that has stunted some of the growth. I still wear, yes, Jesse came on the 9/11 show and told us, or showed us that flag that he's talking about in the chat. How you doing, Living? Yes, good to see you, as a matter of fact. As always. Yeah, so the bad bosses was an interesting one. The reason I brought that subject up specifically was because I've got someone very close who is going through some tough times with a boss, and I think what we learned from that is you can't get the meeting number to work. Oh crap! I didn't do the. Oh my bad. There's one in the description, folks. If you're having trouble calling in, go to the description box and use that number. I am terribly sorry. But as we speak, I shall repair that. There's so many things that I have to do when I'm setting up this show. It's easy to forget once in a while key pieces. I am not. No, you'll have to refresh the description box should be 152.390.215, and I'm going to fix it on the screen here in just a second. Patty Broussard, how are you? Good to see you. Yes, just give me a second here, and I will actually repair what you see on the screen. That number is wrong. It won't be here in a moment. Won't be here in just a moment. Everything's got to fire up. See, when I change this is interesting for some of you. When I change this, what I have to do is I have to open up Photoshop, and I have to change the number. Ah, yes, he found it in the description box. So I changed the number. Let me change this first, Wendell. And as soon as I save it, you will see it pop up. Boom, there it is. Now that is the proper number, meeting number that is. And that's okay. So we've already got Wendell live on here. Let me get your lower third in there, my friend, and we will bring up our first guest. Say something, Wendell. Let's see if we can hear you, bud.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you. How you doing, man?
I'm good.
Sorry about that misdirection.
Hold on, I'm trying to get my
Trying to get.
There we go.
What are you trying to do?
I'm trying to turn my the sound off of the screen. There we go.
Oh,
finally. Finally. For a while. It's morning. So I just want to call in because I was about ready to start doing a new video today. And so anybody cares what my studio really looks like, this is it. It's pretty much a screen and the basement.
You're not alone, Wendell. That's very, very common, as we found.
Now, my wife, who, as I mentioned to you, lives in San Diego, which is a whole other story. She's got a whole sewing room that she never uses that she won't let me put my stuff into. But that's okay. I said, it's a little cramped in here. Maybe I could use your sewing room. No, you can't do that.
Well, let's see. Did you convince her? Is that still the sewing room? Is that out in the garage or something?
I'm in my workshop.
Oh, okay.
So right over here, you can't see it, but over here is my workbench, and then the shelves, and behind the camera is all the equipment. So.
Yes.
But no, hey, Jim, it was a good week. Thanks for hosting all week long. It was a good week. So.
Well, I appreciate that, Wendell. Absolutely, my friend. What did you want to comment on either of the? There's only 3 shows this week, as I mentioned, but you can cover any one of those that you may not have called in for, or we can talk about whatever you'd like to, my friend.
I don't talk about bad bosses because we always had bad bosses, but make a very long story ahead. The last boss I had was the best boss I ever had. I mean, this was somebody who really cared about me, cared about my career, wanted to make sure I was getting into the right job. And as a matter of fact, this lady was able to get me into the best job I ever had, and I retired from it. So, I mean, those are the people that you really value. Somebody that takes an interest in you, really they ask you, what do you want to do next? And then they try to make that happen. So
that is so true. And you were watching the show last night, right? If I remember correctly. Yeah.
Yes.
That's kind of what Jacob and I were talking about, in that some of the best bosses are those who train you as a replacement, or at least want to see you grow beyond, the current position you're in. That's fantastic, especially to have that as your last one, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I tried as a boss myself to do the same thing, and I never had a problem with letting people do the work. There's some bosses that say, well, I've got to do this because I'm the only one that knows how to do it. I try to say, hey, you want to do it, go do it. And you might have a special way of doing it that's different than mine, but that's okay. So
That's true. That's
I,
true.
I do remember people saying I was a hothead every once in a while, which was probably true. But I was only a hothead when people were incompetent. So,
Oh, I hear you, man. I so hear you. Yeah.
so I just hope some of the people who work for me didn't call in for the bad boss, because they may have started talking about somebody that I know very closely. So.
Well, you notice we didn't have a call from Tony from Viewed This. His boss watches my show, and I totally expected him to avoid that at all costs.
Yeah, that reminds me. He did the little outtake a couple weeks back on the Neighbors.
Oh, yes.
Unfortunately, my cut I couldn't share with anybody because I didn't want the neighbors to see what what I said. So.
Yeah, I get that. Do they watch your show? They watch your videos?
Some of them do, as a matter of fact, yes.
Okay, yeah. And I've thought about that a lot as we do these shows. And in fact, I don't know if you remember, but I did a show on addictions. And I wasn't thinking about the implications of that, but it went over like a brick shithouse. I mean, there's literally a whole group of people that wouldn't come on because you don't want to talk about the really bad addictions. I was thinking smoking, coffee, even collecting things, because I had that show as well. But we were talking about hard drugs after a while, and things like that, alcoholism. And those are things you really don't want a lot, especially if you've been successful or bad things have happened. You don't want a whole lot of people to know about that. It didn't occur to me.
Well, Jim, I spent a whole career dealing with people, and you learn very quickly that almost everybody has something that they're dealing with, and it might not be this terrible addiction, but everybody has something they're struggling with, and it impacts them. And some people can handle it, some people can't. So, not to take this conversation one way or the other, but yeah, I can see how people would say, "Well, I'm not going to call in because there's a certain secret I don't want everybody to know." So.
Exactly. Well, I learned my lesson.
That's good.
on those type of shows, and I don't think I'll be broaching that subject anytime soon because of that.
Hey, one thing, I'm not sure how many people are watching, but I'm always open to feedback. If anybody's been watching my channel and has feedback for me, I'd love to hear it. You only see yourself, you don't see it from another view. So if people want to hop on my channel or just give me feedback here on your channel, that'd be great. Always looking for ways to improve things. I'm slowly but surely trying to get to a live stream, Jim. I want to try to do a half-hour show, or maybe I do some backing tracks with a harmonica or something. But I haven't gotten there yet, but I'm working it. So.
Oh, that's cool. So you're trying to put together some sort of format for this before you do it, which is what I would obviously suggest. That's awesome, dude. That's awesome.
That's what I'm planning to do. I'm going to call it Wednesdays with Wendell.
I love that. I love that. Don't pick Tuesday, by the way. And you don't have to, because you've got the W's working for you. Because Tuesdays are crowded.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know why that is. Well, I guess in our world it is, because Ed's on Tuesday night. Cab does his singing, Sing Your Heart Out on Wednesday night, or sorry, Tuesday night. And there are a couple others that pop on. So I'm usually doing, triple duty on several different live streams that I like to watch. And man, it's, I don't know that I could add another one, dude.
Hey, that's a good question I had the other night. Is that, how do you find people that are doing live shows? Just, some night I might be just sitting around going, boy, this is boring. I wonder if I can find something. How do you find something? Is there a way to do a search and find?
Yeah, there is. For the most part, do you watch a lot of live shows?
I want to, but I haven't. I only got a couple right now because it's the only ones I know about.
Well, the more live streams that you watch, and I hate to push people to the YouTube live channel, and it's literally just LIVE. you can go there and you can find live streams. There's a ton of them, but from my perspective, that channel's broken. It's owned by YouTube, but it doesn't do us live streamers really any good. You get a whole lot of 24/7 live streams, some Peppa Pig or some crap like that. But there are a few at the bottom where they have webcam live streams. I can't remember what the other one's called. I don't think it's desktop, but something similar. Or no, webcam and mobile. That's it. Webcam would be the desktop, and then mobile live streams. And they'll usually have anywhere from 20 to 100 live streams going on at any given time. But it seems always to be the same people, or for some weird reason, I get a whole lot of foreign language live streams in there. Come on, YouTube, fix it. And they're not broken out by categories. You know how you have to choose a category for your video when you upload it or you live stream? They're not broken down in those categories for some silly reason.
Interesting.
Okay. Yeah, but that's a good place to start. And I've found that the more live streams you watch, the more come up on your recommended feed as well. Because I get, probably 20% of the shows that show up on my maybe not 20%, maybe 10. 10% of the shows on my recommended are live streams that I don't normally hit. So they're starting to feed me some live streams because I watch so many of them.
Okay.
So.
All right. Well, perfect.
Hope that helps.
I appreciate it. Thank you. I've taken up enough of your time. I've done my self-promotion, and
well, to that effect, feel free to drop your link in the chat, my friend. If people are looking for more live streams that you're going to do, or your videos in general, head on over to Wendell.
All right. Hey, thanks so much. Have yourself a great weekend. We'll see you Sunday night. Okay.
Sounds good. Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Take care, Wendell. Now, Wendell's a great guy. He and I have actually talked offline a couple times about certain things, and like he said, feedback is fantastic because it gives you someone else's perspective on what it is that you're so close to, and I find that to be extraordinarily helpful, as most of you should or do, because there's nothing like having a fresh set of eyes on those things that you're so close to and can't see from a different perspective. It is the reason that I concentrate more. He suggested that I concentrate more on the subject matter than just an open forum. Of course, this is an open forum, but I do come back around to the subject matter more than I did, basically because of Wendell's suggestion. And I thank you for that, Wendell. It was a good one. He says that when he tunes in or watches my videos, and I've got a specific subject matter that people are looking for answers to that, or at least comments to that from my guests. Totally agree with him. That is a perfect constructive criticism. I wanted to say hello to a few more people that I saw jump in. Awesome Epic Adventures. How you doing? Good to see you. Let's see. We have some more Three Musketeers Homestead. Welcome to the show. Stacy Morgan, how you doing this morning, my friend? Jelly Duck 100. It is Jelly Duck's birthday. Ahmed, happy birthday, my friend. That's fantastic. If you haven't already, type in the chat how old. Oh, 1993. Wow, I remember 1993. Oh boy, do I remember 1993. Dan O, welcome to the show, my friend. Luke is in, and Ed's staying home, he says. I don't know what that means, but that's awesome. That's awesome. So yeah, if you want to check out what Wendell's doing, he's going to drop his channel link in the chat here in a moment. Senior in high school in 1993. Oh man, 1993. What was I doing when Jelly Duck was born? Oh my. Well, I started getting serious about deer hunting that year. I remember that specifically. A funny story. It was late in the season, and I didn't have a muzzleloader, and I didn't have any money for a muzzleloader. I was still working in broadcast, and I tell you, I'll say this again. If you're not in front of the camera and broadcast, you're not making any real money. Of course, you could be an admin, but or I should see management. You could make some money, but Oh, yes, Friday the 13th. Wow, how that happens every 7 years for you, doesn't it, Jelly Duck? That's wild. So, or give or take, depending on leap year, I don't know how that affects it. But a funny story, I didn't have a muzzle loader to hunt that year, and it was late in the year, and I had to have one. I happened to have an electronic cash register in my attic. Don't ask me why. We've already had the discussion of why I hold on to things because, you just might need it later. Well, this is a perfect example. I probably had that cash register in my attic for, I don't know, 3 or 4 years. Didn't know what I was going to do with it, but I had it. At that time they were very expensive. And I happened by a pawn shop and went in and they had a muzzleloader, not this guy. It was an old Italian muzzleloader up on the wall. And I believe they wanted $150 for it. Well, I got the cash register for free. And I said, do you think, because they had one of the old hard registers. And I said, do you think you could use an electronic cash register and trade? And they go, well, we don't know how to use it. I said, well, my wife does. I tell you what, if her and I write down instructions on how to use it, how to get you going with this, think we can make a trade for that muzzleloader on the wall up there? They said yes. So the wife and I spent an evening putting together how to use that. We literally did a white paper on how to use that old Casio cash register. I brought it in the next day and walked away with that muzzleloader and went hunting probably that next weekend. I don't remember exactly the time frame, the difference in time frame, but I went hunting that weekend. And it was, from my perspective, it was one of the greatest deals I've ever made. Yep. Because I just didn't have an extra $150 laying around for that muzzleloader. And I probably spent too much. Well, had I bought it for $150, it probably would have been too much. It was a pawn shop after all. But I tell you, from my perspective, I got it for a couple hours work. And I was very good. I was very happy with that. Mike from the Creator Spotlight Show. Oh, the OG hustler. I don't know about that, but I'm very proud of that transaction, and I still have that weapon to this day. I tell you what, it's brutally accurate. I can't believe how accurate that old thing is, but it's virtually worthless. I mean, on the open market, there wasn't. Well, I don't imagine that there was a lot of them made, but they've just fallen into the dustbin of history. And who knows what? Oh my Lord. Who knows? It may be worth something someday. Jesse Mendez just said Eddie Money died at the age of 70. Wow. Wow. Can anyone, oh man, that's awful. I wouldn't say that I was a giant fan of Eddie Money, but certainly listened to a lot of his music. In fact, two of his songs, the only one I remembered is Tickets to Paradise, were cover songs that I've played in bands before. That's a shame. That's a shame. Well, you know how it is, Jesse. The older you get, the funerals displace weddings as the time to see all old friends. 2 Tickets to Paradise. Yeah. Yeah. Rest in peace, my friend, Eddie Money. Sorry to see you go, as I am with anyone, both, famous and not famous. It's just a fact of life. Death and taxes. What are you going to do? Speaking of taxes, I've got to take all my tax information to my CPA today. That's not necessarily a bad feeling. Only when I get back. Yeah, Baby Hold On wasn't one of them. I'll think of the other one here in a moment, but nor I Think I'm in Love. No. Oh, maybe it was Baby Hold On. Baby Hold On to Me. Yes, it was, as a matter of fact. Yep. Yana, how you doing? I have to drive, but I'm here. Well, I appreciate you being here. Died peacefully. Well, that's good. That is good. All right. Well, if no one else calls in, I'm going to close the show down. I'll probably give it another 5 minutes or so. Give you guys a chance, knowing what you know now. Because I've run out of things to say. Again, I'll go over the 4 shows one more time. We had pet peeves on Monday, and that was to talk about what grinds your gears, what bothers you that either you do, could be what you do, the government does, what the world does, what third person does, what your family does. It didn't matter. But we got a lot of great responses for that. The second one that I wasn't able to do because of technical difficulties was, that one thing you have to accomplish before your time is done. And I'm sure Eddie Money probably had 1 or 2 of those, even though he did so much over the years in the music industry. That show I will actually bring back. And that was one that was suggested by M Living Art. And I really want to touch on that. Now, of course, Wednesday was a tribute of sorts, but I wanted to hear my guest's thoughts on the 9/11 tragedy. And that turned out to be a wonderful show that I really enjoyed, as much as you can enjoy tragedy. But it is nice to hear how it affects other people. And when I say nice, what I mean by that is educational, and of course, and to some extent cathartic, because getting things off your chest, like the pet peeves, for instance, as well, really helps. And that's a segue to Bad Bosses, which was last night's show, where I wanted to hear my guests, history with some of those supervisors that were less than ideal. And that was awesome because, it does happen that we run into bosses that are not what we would consider ideal. Sounds like the perfect Friday 13th adventure. Yeah. Well, okay, we do have another guest. So let's bring in AU. We're just going to go with that. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
How you doing, Jesse?
All right. Let me.
No,
yes, we are.
No camera.
I have bed face and bed hair and bed bod. So.
Well, you got hats, man.
I wanted to touch on bosses a little bit.
Sure.
Wendell said something, and so did what's his name?
What? I don't know. Who else?
The guy you had on last night.
Oh, Jacob.
Jacob.
Yeah, Jacob Billet.
Right. Bosses that help you and actually encourage you. I have one of my biggest pet peeves about bosses that try to tell you how to do your job and have no idea how to do it themselves.
That's a great point, man. There's so many of them out there, isn't there?
Right. Yes. I always tell them, here, show me. show me how to do it, since you know how to do it, right?
Oh yeah, that'll make them uncomfortable for sure, and of course, right. then for some reason, they'll be angry at you, and that's always blown me away. How people can be angry at someone for pointing out their flaws, right? When they're obvious flaws.
Well, I don't like it either, but nobody likes their flaws being pointed at them. But
right.
when you're trying to prove a point, you need to not have that flaw yourself.
Exactly. Those who live in glass houses should not throw stones. Is that one?
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Although, and at the same time, I've had bosses that were friends first, which is never a good thing.
That's tough, isn't it?
Yeah, because first, we expect things out of friends, different things from friends than we do from bosses, right? And then when that friend becomes a boss, now there's a conflict on both parts, not just you, but on the boss's part too. Now he has to act like a boss and still be your friend, which is never works out.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. I've been in that situation myself, and in fact, I've lost really, really good friends
Right.
when I became their supervisor, and it sucked.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
And then you got the boss who I've had a lot of bosses. My thing about bosses is bosses come and go wherever you are. I retired from Chrysler. I retired as a federal weld inspector. I had a really easy job, but the only reason I had that particular job was because the boss that was in charge of quality control liked my attitude about quality control, liked my attitude about, quality in general,
Mm-hmm.
right? So he helped me get into inspection and quality control, and because of my attitude and stuff, he pushed me in a direction that got me the best job in the plant. And not because he liked me, because I'm kind of a crass and crude dude when it comes to work. I work really hard. I do my job right. I'm getting paid $30 an hour to at least do my job right, so I always do that, and I push that. But he showed me what I need to do, how to do it. And he said, you follow these directions. Your instructions are in black and white. You do not deviate from that. And that was all I needed to know.
Yeah.
I would get into arguments with bosses, all the other supervisors. They try to tell me I can't do that. And I tell them, no, I can do that. This is my job. You don't like it? Go talk to my boss, So you do have good bosses mixed in with bad bosses throughout your life. I've had good ones, bad ones. I've had mediocre ones. I've had, they've run all the gamuts. Bosses are a personality.
Yeah.
Some bosses are good simply because of their personality. They know how to treat people. And that's the biggest thing,
No, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And sometimes training can't take place of that. I mean, you've got to be personable as well as firm to get the job done.
Right.
And a lot of people, aren't cut out for that.
Right. They're not cut out to be a boss because they allow the authority to get to their heads, and that's part of their personality in the first place. So when that happens, it really shows when you become a boss.
That's true. That's true. I want to say real quick, Jesse, happy birthday again, Jelly Duck, and we'll see you later, buddy. He's got to go.
All right, later, Jelly Duck. And then the other thing you guys touched on last night was the military and how that can really distinguish one person from another as far as who's a better boss, just because of the fact that everyone has to work together. You talked about how these guys just come out of ROTC, go to officers training school, get shipped over to wherever. And if you happen to be in a wartime, the worst thing you can do is come on to a battlefield telling those guys how they should act, how they should look, how they should dress, how they should, shave your mustache a certain way, military style. Those guys just don't make it.
Right.
And that's a bad place to do it, in combat zone.
Oh, man. It could be life or death, as a matter of fact.
Right.
Jesus.
I remember when the first time I saw one of those, what do you call them?
The ROTC. The
ROTCs.
The ROTC butter bars. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Come over. Now, you see my mustache, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a Fu Manchu. Most of us wore them like that over there.
I should actually put up a still of you, Jesse, from one of your other shows.
Military style mustaches is more like you, but even more cleaned up.
Yeah.
It's not past the lip, not past the mouth. It's there's regulations for a mustache. We were over in Vietnam, right? This guy's first thing he's telling everybody they gotta shave, they gotta trim up, they gotta get haircuts, they gotta do this, and you're talking about guys who've been out in the field for 2 weeks, and you're gonna come back and harass them about. And all these guys want to do is get a hot meal and lay in a soft bed for a night.
Yeah.
Yeah, these guys don't. We've had a few losses like that, unfortunately.
That is not respecting the experience of those that you are supervising.
Correct.
Yep. And it's, I want to say it's not necessarily learned. For some people, it's inherent, but for many people, they just miss that basic tenet of supervision, right?
Right. I mean, there are supervisors that are good because they don't deal with people. They can run a plant, they can run a store, they can run a company. But you start giving them actual people that they have to direct, that becomes different for them.
Yeah.
It's a different type of a boss. So
absolutely.
And then don't forget, some bosses become bosses simply because they want to get them closer to that front door.
Oh yeah.
That's
true.
Step towards the front door. You're out. And then we as peons have to deal with these guys.
Yeah. And that's
the bad part.
That is the bad part. And when they're bad.
Yeah.
And of course, there's for when you're a worker bee, there's always that perception, well, I could do such a better job. And sometimes you can't. I mean, it's a whole different world when you're actually managing people as opposed to being one of those people who are managed.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Oh yeah. I don't like to be micromanaged.
No one does.
Right. If I know my job and I know what I got to do for that day or whatever my job happens to be, leave me alone. Let me do my job. Don't come over and start messing with me, or try changing the way I do my job.
Right.
Like my particular job, I was able to learn it and figure out my techniques for doing it so that I could have my breaks. I wasn't on a line or anything like that, but I had certain duties I had to do.
Mm-hmm.
When a boss comes up and tries to tell me that I need to do these other things or do something else or be away from where I'm supposed to be, I'll argue for a minute and then I'll go do it and then make sure that it hits the fan before I get back. So say, why weren't you doing what you were supposed to be doing? Well, so-and-so told me I had to go over here and do this instead. So while I was doing what he was telling me to do, it hit the fan over here and I couldn't do nothing about it over there. So if you want to talk to somebody about that, talk to him.
Yes.
And with my particular job that I had, there was certain things that I had to do. They had to be done. These people were told to leave me alone the rest of the time. They never bothered me because I let it hit the fan and stood behind them.
Yeah. And that's a good life's lesson for those people who are dealing with bosses who like to micromanage. What most micromanagers miss is the bigger picture, right?
Right.
So
right.
What I always tell people that come to me and say, look, I don't understand why they're asking me to do something that they didn't hire me to do or whatnot. And I say, well, if your skill set is such that you can do it, I would say do it, but always, always make sure you tell whomever's asking you to do that what the consequences of pulling me away from my normal job are.
Right.
Information is power. And if they know that, something that you've hired me to do is not going to get done because you want me to do this other thing, then because that doesn't get done becomes their responsibility, not yours.
Right.
So.
Absolutely. Yep. And then the other type of boss you guys touched on, like I said, I've gone through a lot of bosses and I've dealt with a lot of type of bosses because I'm such an ass. Are the ones that don't want to give out information to help you do your job, the ones that want to keep information secret to themselves, thinking that it's going to benefit them by you not being able to do a particular thing or answer a particular question or know a particular thing about your job because that boss won't let you know or won't tell anybody else either. I've seen bosses having to come in and train people and only give people parts of the information that they need to do the job. And sometimes not even the same information is doled out to the people. One person will get this information, one person will get that information. And I think these bosses think that when they do that, they are able to have all the power.
Yes.
Because it's about power, right?
It's about power and it's about job security. Some people are afraid.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Some people are afraid to divulge that information because they think it gives them advantage and will keep them in their current position. When really what it does is it hurts. That's the same mindset that of those people who don't train the people that they supervise to take their job or to improve and that's just based on fear.
Right. It is. It's based on fear. It's based on, well, they can't get rid of me. And what I know for a fact, I don't care how good you are, how intelligent you are, how wonderful, and how much money you make for a company, there's always somebody else out there to replace you.
That's
and
right.
maybe do a better job.
That is so true. And if that doesn't drive you to excel, then nothing will.
Right. That was I think you did a show about with your parents. No, we didn't do that show.
I haven't done that show yet.
No.
I know it's in my queue because it's on my list. So yeah, I'll bring that up this week, Jesse.
One of the things that my dad told me, well, he told me a lot of different things, but the one that pertains to this is I lost it. I forgot it. Oh shit.
That happens.
My CRS is kicking in.
That's okay. You'll think of it. In fact, save it for the show because you're right. I do need to bring that back up. That was a good subject matter. And who do you want me to attribute that to? Your Toledo Jess channel or what?
No, just attribute it to Jesse's dad.
No. Unless he's got a YouTube channel. Well, as you know, when someone's kind enough to suggest a topic and I decide to undertake it, I like to give them credit for that. So
just go with my name.
Okay. That'll do, my friend. Absolutely. And let that.
One of these nights I'm going to be on as a guest, so I can tell you my hitchhiking story, my 3-year story.
Oh yeah. Oh, now wait a minute. While we're on that subject, have you ever hitchhiked? Would be a great topic, would it not? Tell me your.
I would be your only guest.
No, I've got some hitchhiking stories of my own, man.
After you.
You know what? This is funny because in the last month, I've seen 2 hitchhikers, and I probably haven't seen any hitchhikers for the last 10 years.
Yeah, you don't see very many anymore. Every once in a while.
Yeah. I wonder why that is.
Well, nobody's going anywhere, I guess. I don't know. Everybody's taking a bus. I don't know.
Maybe. I find that fascinating, though, because there are...
Maybe because people aren't too afraid to hitchhike anymore. Nobody's picking you up anyways. I don't pick them up.
No, I don't either.
Right. So it's probably just cheaper to sit on the corner and beg for money for a bus ticket.
There you go. Maybe that's
It's
it.
probably a quicker trip. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, if you've got enough stories and I've got enough stories, maybe it'll just be me and you, Jesse, on that show. But I think that would be a fun topic for maybe some of us older folks who remember when hitchhiking was, rampant.
Yeah, you're rampant. Yeah. It was a plague on the nation.
Well, I didn't mean it like that, but it used to be that you could drive down just about any street, and in fact, on the highway often.
Here you go. Here's an idea for you. Remember, you also talked about doing a show where you were a guest host, or where you had a guest host.
Yes, and that's still open. I only have one response on that. Who somebody wants to be the host?
Me, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was you. So
let's do it on hitchhiking and let people call us.
Okay. Well, you and I will talk about that because that is a show I want to do. I think that would be fun. Now, mainly because I just get to sit back and push buttons, but
oh no, he's gonna push buttons.
Well, my supervisor, he's an asshole, so he'll tell me to push some buttons and I'll push them.
Okay. As long as he's not a dick, we're all right.
Well, he might be a dick too. I don't know. I don't know him that well. But I'm actually.
That sounds like a fun one.
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun. I'm going to put that hitchhiking one in the list though, because I think that would be fun too. And like I said, it may not elicit a lot of responses, but I know that my demographic is, well, it's all over the board. I think we'll find some people to come in and tell their hitchhiking stories, whether it's somebody they picked up or hitchhiking themselves.
Right. I've done both.
Oh, so have I.
Yeah.
And man, we used to do it at such a young age too. I can remember before I could drive a car, hitchhiking down to the quarries, and I'll save it for that. But oh man, just all the time.
You can cross town to your girlfriend's house.
Oh, for sure. So we will do both of those shows. I'm making a note right now. All right, where'd we go before we were on the show train there? Anywhere?
We were talking. We've gotten the bosses.
Oh, gotten the bosses out of the way.
Gotten the bosses out.
Yeah.
I said my piece for 9/11.
Mm-hmm. Well,
I guess we are where we are. Almost 11 o'clock. So
it is almost 11.
Help to drag this out a little longer for you. I didn't want you to cut off at 10:30. That's not fair.
Well, I appreciate that, but I can only yammer on so much.
I understand.
People get tired of hearing me, I'm sure.
Yeah. What would really be cool though is I would love for on your Sunday mashup for everybody in the chat room to be on live. Wouldn't that be awesome? That
would be awesome. And you guys should know, especially those of you who are new, that my Sunday smash, and I'll throw up the thumbnail right now. This is going to be number 9, and of course there's been many more, but on Sunday specifically, this is number 9. Everyone's welcome to call in as long as you're a good person, and don't try to troll. Then you're more than welcome to come on. I'm trying to break Zoom. They say 49 to 100 people. That's our goal, but more importantly is it's your opportunity not to have to be invited to a panel call in, much, even though you don't need an invitation to come on the show anyway. But right. But that breaks the ice for a lot of people. They can just sit there, be on camera. They don't have to say a word, but it's a lot of fun to converse between many folks at one time.
See, this is yeah, absolutely right. This and as you were talking a little bit about bosses, right?
Mm-hmm.
The worker bee has a responsibility too. It's not just the boss. The worker bee has a responsibility also. He has to come in and do his job. I had one guy that would threaten me with being a boss. Don't make me be a boss. Do your job. Just don't make me be a boss. And we're good.
Yeah. Can I add to that, Jesse?
Sure.
I would say that one of the greatest things you can do as an employee or someone who's being supervised is make sure you keep your boss informed.
Right.
because if you do that, I mean, even to an extreme, if you keep them informed, they have less reason to micromanage you, for instance.
Absolutely.
Yep. So if nothing else, take some of these as life's lessons for some of you younger folks, or maybe some of you that have never heard these before.
And not just keeping them informed, but at the same time, you have to keep that happy medium where you don't become that. Oh no, not him again. Now what? Yeah,
Yeah,
there's that fine line that you don't want to cross too. You want your boss informed, but you don't want to be the guy that's, oh no, here comes Mendez again. What's he gonna bitch about today?
Well, I wasn't necessarily saying, talking about bitching, but just let them know what's going on. Not be don't be a mole, of course, but
right.
And don't be a complainer. But if you tell them what's going on with your your workload, then that is more helpful than just about anything else you can do.
Yes, like I said, there is that happy medium there where you let your boss know, but don't be that guy that's all they dread seeing you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although with me, that was my job. If they saw me, they were in trouble.
Oh, yeah.
The less they saw of me, the better the place was running. Seriously, because I only did work when stuff was in the pan.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I was an auditor, so if everything was running right, I'd go do my job. I'd go back in my booth, and I'd sit there and do what I was, play cards or whatever. But if I was out running around, stopping lines, getting bosses, the place was going nuts. Yeah.
Got to call in Jesse.
Yeah, the less they saw of me, the better they liked it. Which is fine with me too. That means I wasn't, busting my ass.
Right.
My job was like a cop's job. Sit around for hours and hours, and all of a sudden, boom, you're busting ass and you're hurrying and getting stuff done and making sure nothing gets out the door and so one of those jobs. But I loved it. It was great. Nobody messed with me. I did my thing and walked around, talked to people, and made sure everything was running right. And that was cool. It was fun.
That's awesome. That is.
Got paid good money to do very little work, but the work I did was really important. So.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what it's all about right there.
Right. So.
Well, thanks, Jesse.
All right. I've dragged you out long enough, so now I can let you go and let everybody else go because everybody's got things to do. I gotta go work on my bathroom some more.
Yeah. Life goes on, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Yeah. My wife come home last night. So, well, what'd you get done today? I said, well, I got the hallway, that wall put back up. I said, got the dishes done. I didn't get to work on the backyard, though. I didn't get to cut the grass. I didn't get to do this. And I didn't get to do that. And I go, what'd you do today?
I know, man. I get that all the time. Well, thanks, Jesse. Thanks for coming on, man. It wasn't just a time filler. It was educational, I hope.
Well, yeah. And then, like I said, if you make yourself valuable to the company, they will appreciate you and they'll leave you alone. They won't mess with you as long as you're doing your job.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
It's just like being a co-host. I have certain jobs that I have to do. Mm-hmm. And I got to make sure I do that, like keep the talk going. Even if it's becomes silly, just got to keep it going.
Yep. Well, it's a pleasure to talk to somebody who values that sort of attitude, my friend. Honestly.
Well, there's a lot. Like I said the other day too, there are a lot of young kids out there that do have that attitude. Unfortunately, we see the squeaky wheels ones.
Yeah.
We meet the ones at work that don't want to work. Bad work ethics and stuff like that.
Yeah. And it creates a horrible perception.
Oh, it does. It does.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, you look. Well, he's not on here tonight, so I'll wait till he's on before I say anything about him.
Okay.
But yeah, you had a youngster on last night who feels that all the old people are against him, and that's not really true. But
yeah, I caught a bit of that in the chat, and
Right.
and I understand where he's coming from, because
and I understand that too, because the reality of it is that you do see a lot of that. So, but it's not necessarily everyone.
no. Again, that's a perception that he has, and I totally get that. But he, being a young man, what he doesn't understand is that every generation does that to the generation that follows.
Yeah.
And
That's what keeps us on our toes.
Exactly. It's part of our job to critique and make the those generations that come after us better than ourselves. So
Right. Absolutely, because that's what we want. We do want the next generation to be better, be more attuned to reality. You know.
Yeah. Who's going to change our diapers?
Exactly. Yeah, right. You're going to change my diaper, take me for a walk when I need to go.
I want you to be responsible.
Right. Sometimes I wonder.
I know, man. I know. Well, listen, Jesse.
That's why I always say, when the shit hits the fan big time, when we destroy ourselves on this planet, I don't want to be a survivor.
Nope. Me neither.
Take me out right off, and boom, I'm done.
Well, Jesse, we better get out of here so we can get some work done, my friend.
All righty. I will talk to you later.
All right, bud. You too.
Bye,
Thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah. Hit this button here.
Hit that button there. There we go. Well, I hope you guys have, if nothing else, learned something today. It was a good recap, and I know I did. I wanted to say hello to Margie Yeoman. Thank you so much. Says my shows are very interesting. I so appreciate that. And I tell you what makes them interesting are the people that I have on. I have to say, yeah, I know. Yeah. Thanks. Will. He says, get my taxes done. I so hate tax time. For me, tax time is September, October, because I file extensions. I'm just that way. I don't know why, but, and they've gotten so complicated that I've had somebody doing my taxes for probably the last 20 years, only because, owning your own business, there's so many deductions that you can take, and I don't want to miss any of those. So it's well worth it, in my opinion. Not only that, it keeps you out of trouble if you don't know what you're doing. And, I was always good at it, but I thought, it's best if I just pay and have somebody do it. But it's never a fun time. It is what it is. I'll do them every year until I'm no longer on this planet. Why not? All right, folks, listen. This one's in the books. Deductions rule, man. They do rule. Thanks to my guest, and thanks to all of you in the chat. For one, your kind words, and for two, hanging out. Paul Michael DB, how you doing, man? If I missed any of you in the chat, I'm terribly sorry. I try to see everything I possibly can, but I only have two eyes, and they both go the same direction at any given time. Well, not always. With that, I'm going to call this a Friday. Now, don't forget to join us this Sunday for our Sunday Smash, and you are all welcome, as long as you're good people, to come on the panel show. I mean that sincerely. It's fun. Sometimes it gets out of hand. A lot of times we get people talking over one another, and that just happens. Whenever you get a group together, that is the danger. But listen, thanks so much for being here. And if you're watching this after it's processed, when we're no longer live, hit that subscribe button right now. If this is the kind of content that appeals to you, and by all means, share out my videos. When you come on the show, this does often end up as a guest cut that you are welcome to use in any of your social media platforms as well. Having said that, I will actually leave you with this. Make sure you treat others the way you would want to be treated. If we all did that, all good people did that, this world would be a fantastic place. Have a good weekend, folks. We will see you live.